Hey guys, I'm majicDave. This is Ambience. So this is actually planet Earth, as you can see. So what I've done is I've been working on climate, and to do that I really needed to put in a map of the Earth so that I could see that what I was doing was getting realistic results, so I can compare this with actual, Earth data. So yeah, it's been, I got a bit carried away, it has to be said. I have spent quite a lot of time on this, but there was one particular thing that I really wanted to get right, and that was the rain shadow effect when rain comes up and hits mountain ranges, and then the moist air hits mountain ranges, rises, cools, drops its moisture, then it flows over and leaves drier air beyond. So that's what I was. That's what I wanted to achieve, and I think I have got that, but I've also got wetter air around the tropics. I'm modelling the atmosphere, like pressure in the atmosphere to a certain extent. I mean, it's not perfect, it's definitely not perfect, it's a little bit too wet over in the Middle East, for example, and yeah, there's plenty of little inconsistencies, but on a general kind of broad sense, it is pretty good. Yeah, I guess I got a little bit disillusioned by it. I thought this was going to be super cool, and I thought it was going to be really fun, but it got to the point where I was just like, this is not working as well as I'd hoped. And, at the end of the day, it's probably like, so who's going to notice this, right? I mean, it's not that important. I could have just randomly assigned rainfall to the entire world, but this is what I've done, and it's been kind of fun, and it's been very educational. I've learned quite a lot. I just want to show you sort of a little bit of how it's done, just out of interest. I don't want to bore you to death, but I will show you first this. So this is, I put in a little command prompt. So this is just a command prompt that goes straight into Lua and allows me to just change stuff on the fly directly in the game. So I can copy and paste stuff into this prompt. I can use it just like a terminal window, really, and call functions and assign variables and query game state and stuff right from here. So that's really cool. Finding that very useful. But the reason I did this is so that I could show display different data fields over top of over the map, in particular like rainfall and pressure, so that I wouldn't have to recompile every time I wanted to see something different. So I'll first just show you this. This is just a land water mask that's not even all that accurate. It's just created by the altitude map, but yeah, so that's where I kind of started with, and then I blur that, so I had to run a blur filter over all this, which was kind of an interesting thing in its own right, because this is not a geographic X and Y grid. This is a sphere that's a subdivided icosahedron, which, yeah, it took me a little bit to get my head around all of that, but I did manage to do it. And so this is now a pressure map. So this is what I did is I made two different maps, one for January and one for July, and so I sort of ran the model, or all the process over those two different sets of data. And there's two things that change from January to July that I'm accounting for, and that's the large areas of land in the let me get this right. Large areas of land in summer become lower pressure, and in winter become higher pressure. So in January here, it's winter in the northern hemisphere, so all of this area up here is very high, it's got a high pressure. And down in the south, like Africa, South America, it's all lower pressure. And so if I now change this to July, we've got higher pressure over the continents in the south and lower pressure in the north. And so that, combined with the Coriolis effect, causes the wind directions that, trade winds and the sort of roaring 40s and all of that stuff. And these little particles here, which are a bit glitchy and stuff, but they show the wind direction. So I don't know if you'll be able to see them in the video, but yeah. So given the wind direction, plus the kind of pressure, the temperature, which I'm not modeling actually all that well at the moment. I might try to model that a little bit better, but given those two, I can then calculate rainfall. So this is January rainfall, and yeah, it's using the altitude, so you can see that I'm focusing on New Zealand because I know it so well. But so the rain is the wind is pushing wet air onto the Southern Alps, which is causing higher than the normal rainfall there, and then you're seeing a shadow effect beyond that. So I'm sort of tracing back over the wind to see how much moisture the air should be picking up, and then depositing it based on altitude and change in temperature and all that kind of stuff. And so there's more rainfall around the tropics, and and so same again for July. So there's a bit more rainfall in the northern hemisphere. I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate, but as I said, it's not 100%, but ultimately I end up with this, which is a combined rainfall map for the entire year, which I can then use to place vegetation and assign different biomes. So I think I will just now I need to recompile in order to load up procedural terrain instead of earth, so I'll just do that quickly. Actually, I'll just show you what that looks like with the map. So this is just using that rainfall to change the color of the grass, basically, to make it kind of more like brown desert color if there's not much rainfall. And there's a lake in the middle of Australia because I'm not using a water mask, and the altitude is very low there, and it's treating it as water, but that's fine. So I'll just load up Ambience in a normal procedural map. Okay, so this is a procedurally generated map, and as you can see, the same kind of same code is working pretty well here too. I'm pretty happy with these results. They're not, I mean, obviously, one thing that I did find, right, was that any kind of little changes in any kind of variable, because there's all kind of guess, there's a lot of guesswork, and there's a lot of just sort of plugging in magic numbers, and if I just changed one or two little things, it would completely change. Like one area would just completely change from desert to lush forest. And I guess that I felt a little bit disillusioned about that, because it's like, well, what's the point? Who's going to notice this? I've spent all this time on this, and it is taking a few seconds on world generation to simulate all this. Is there any point? Well, I don't know. I think there is. I think it's making slightly more realistic looking landscapes, and this is a good base. You've got to start somewhere. I could just have made it completely random Perlin noise, but this is like, well, yeah, there's some believability to it. It adds just a little bit more credibility to the whole thing. So yeah, I'll just head down to a forest area, maybe over here or something. So at the moment it's just, it's greener grass, and there's more dense forest. If I were to go over to a desert area, which I might as well just do as well, then there's not very many trees. Actually, there's a few still here. It's But so next on my list would be to start assigning more unique vegetation and stuff to various areas. Just more diversity. I want there to be sort of cactuses and shrubs and grasses, just lots of different kinds of trees. So that's kind of the thing. There were two different ways that I could approach the biome sort of assignment. I could do what I did in blockheads, which is to say, well, given a certain temperature range and a certain rainfall range, trees will grow, a certain kind of tree will grow there. But I'm more inclined to go the Minecraft model of actually assigning a particular biome to an area now. I think that will give me more control, which might be a good thing in this case. I think it'll make hard boundaries between areas. Like, you'll kind of walk through a forest and then come out into a plains area that's just grassland or whatever, and then whereas if I were to do it more like actually what's happening here, I mean, you can see there's sort of like spotted trees that are slowly fading out. you know, it could work either way, but I think I'm going to probably try the biome assignment route first. So yeah, that's what I'm probably going to be doing, and I've been playing a little bit with Blender. These trees at the moment are all just hard coded, like I've just written some vertices for the triangles and stuck them into the code. I don't really want it to be like that for all of my trees. I want to be able to model them in a 3D app, so that's what I'll be doing. So yeah, I think that's what I'll be doing next, is just trying to populate the world more. And yeah, these one last thing that I've been working on is these shadow maps. I don't know, the last video I showed had all these weird sort of it had this quite pronounced square sort of shape. So I fixed up the projection for that, so that it's not doing that anymore, and it's a smoother transition between the detail levels. And I've also got softer shadows now. I've fixed up some of the Peter panning, which is what it's called when actually this light's a bit strong, but see, it's just sort of not quite lining up. Like there's a little bit of a gap between the bottom of the trunk and the shadow. Yeah, that's better now than it was. It still looks a little bit like it's floating there, but it's not too bad. Yeah, I'll just keep tweaking that kind of stuff in the atmosphere and everything. And yeah, hopefully next time I've got a bunch of different biomes to show you. That would be cool. And that's the goal. So until then, we'll catch you next time.